Hello everyone, this is Eno Ninja.
And this is Crunch.
And you are now listening to the Storm Connect podcast, published by the Sigil Arts Network. We talk about gaming topics and anime series of our interest, like RWBY, Final Fantasy, Persona 5 Royal, Smash Ultimate, and so on for. The goal that we aim to accomplish on every episode is to provide insights on these subjects that are usually overlooked, to spread awareness, and learn more. So, we have returned together once again because we are not done talking about the one and only legend, Sephiroth, that has recently entered into the Smash Ultimate roster. So, Crunch, I'm gonna let you start off with this one.
All right, no problem. So it's been a minute since we talked about the Sephiroth reveal towards like the beginning of December, but we kind of decided to like let it wait out a little bit, especially after the surprise presentation showcasing that we were able to get him early, and I will explain how we were able to do that later. But Sephiroth is finally here. I'm really excited because I recently played Final Fantasy VII Remake over the spring break-ish era. And I'm really excited that this character's in the game. I think his inclusion is great. It's really fresh, and it almost like kind of rejuvenated the game for me a little bit. Like, I feel like I can get on Smash now and not like dread playing it with my friends. Now I can finally pick a character that I like, play it for as many hours as I want, and probably never get tired of it. And yeah, the thing is though is that this character is crazy. Like, I knew he would be kind of like insane being added into the game because, you know, this is a boss character, like, especially because Sakurai kind of talked about this in the direct too, is like, you know, Sephiroth, as we all know, is like the main boss in the entirety of Final Fantasy VII. He is like the holy grail of final bosses, and also just, as he said in the direct as well, like, he's a very well-known video game villain, and to be put in a game like this represented is just a shock. On top of that, all the content that we got, like more music finally, that makes me so happy that we finally got more music in this game. And on top of that, another stage, and we even got some spirits too, not necessarily like the spirit board like we typically get with the DLC, but we did get some spirits for some characters, like, you know, we got Cloud's old spirit, we got Sephiroth, Yuffie, Red, and so on and so forth, and his inclusion is just really exciting. Yeah, what'd you think about it too, Edo? I know we talked about it a little bit too.
So, that was the one thing that, like, I was sincerely, like, hoping for to see, which, you know, is just as you mentioned, the spirits. Because originally, like I said, if you for some reason live under a rock for whatever A to B, C reason, you happen to be listening to this podcast, for the Final Fantasy representation that we've had for Smash, it was just Cloud, the stage, two songs, and the only spirits that we received were literally the in-game models. That's it. That's all that we got in comparison with the rest of the other characters that had some proper rep, and they actually got their traditional actual old art from their actual game series. So the fact that I actually got to see like the very, very old Nomura art, that was just, oh my god, nostalgia just hit me really hard on that. Even though like I never played Final Fantasy like that though, I did see Nomura's work like way early on of like the early 2000s and such, and it was just so refreshing and nice to see. Sephiroth being included into Smash, okay? So, as I've clearly expressed with the previous podcast, like, it still is a shock to me as to how this character was exactly presented. He was pretty much, like, rivaling with Joker's reveal. And the fact that, like, I'm on the same boat with Crunch on this one, like, every time I play Sephiroth and such, like, I cannot get tired of him. He's just actually such a refreshing character. The fact that, like, he's an actual, like, boss character, it, like, you know, because we also have some like main antagonist characters into the Smash series though, but it's like Sephiroth, he gives off a new type of refresh aura, and I'm so glad that Sakurai is giving him that type of treatment for it. And I mean, I've actually seen like a couple debates here and there, like, why haven't the other main antagonists get that type of aura? Look, hold on, you're gonna listen to me here real good, okay? Sephiroth, we do not underestimate Sephiroth. We stand Sephiroth in this podcast house. I'm just saying, like, you know, in comparison with the other villains that we have here in Smash Ultimate, Sephiroth? Did you not see that trailer? Did you not see him slash fucking, what was that bitch's name? Galeem in one swing? Yeah, no. All the main antagonists are in Smash wishes that they were just Sephiroth. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I second that too. And honestly, like, I'm once again with you there. Like, his inclusion is, as I said before too, is also just insane. And like, I really think Sephiroth saved the Final Fantasy VII rep in this game because, you know, when we got Cloud, that was funny enough. I didn't even know who Cloud was at the time that he got announced in 4. I knew what Final Fantasy was, obviously, but like, I didn't know what was the popular iteration, but I recognized the character and I thought that was cool. But for a lot of people, that was like huge that he got into Smash. But the biggest problem with him being in Smash was the lack of representation on his end. I mean, sure, we got a stage and we got the character himself, but my issue though is we only had 2 songs, and it was like Let the Battle Begin, and then kind of like the main theme for Final Fantasy VII. But with Sephiroth's inclusion, not only do we have more tracks, but we have a total of 11, which honestly, I think that is perfectly fine. I think that is a perfect number to include. So like, now we have like tracks like Opening Bond Mission, Those Who Fight and Fight Further from Advent Children, Aerith's theme, we have the main theme from 7, Genova, which is like one of my most wanted songs. Because when I looked up the OST in 4, I first heard that song, I was like, yo, this slaps. And the fact that it's finally in the game, like, it should have been in here to begin with, but I'm just glad it's here. We also have Cosmo Canyon, One Winged Angel, and then the Advent Children version of One Winged Angel, which was in the trailer. And it's just so nice to see that he saved the representation for Final Fantasy VII in this game. And like, from a competitive standpoint, when we transition to that, like, I think this character is super promising. I think it's really early to say like where he fits on a tier list, and like, this is a very common issue in the community as well, where people, you know, they always want to get a tier list going. They want to put them somewhere where it might see fit, and then maybe make a little bit of controversy out of it. But I don't know. I think, if, in my humble opinion, if you think this character is mid-tier, you're crazy. Because for one, like, his moveset is insane. He has incredible long range. He also has a wicked counter. Like, not only can you just throw this thing out and it does so much damage and knockback to like physical attacks, but on top of that, it just stops projectiles. And if you even miss the counter, there's still an attack that comes afterwards, which is, I think, the first ever counter to do that. I don't think any other counter like that exists in this game, and that's really creative and unique, because something that DLC characters that were missing from their inclusions in this game is creativity and uniqueness, minus Steve. I feel like a lot of the characters that are added into this game these days typically have like a copy of everybody's set moves, minus that one unique thing, quote unquote, the DLC move. For an example, Joker is like the face of this. He gets added into the game. He's given like what seems to be ZSS forward air, Sheik up air, back air is a little unique, I guess. Same with down air. But his mechanics are cool. Like, you know, he has Arsene, and like, his counter isn't really a counter, but rather it's something that can tank hits and eventually adds to his Arsene meter. But then you look at characters like Terry, and Terry is cool, and he is pretty unique too, but he's a Shoto. So, you know, he has a lot of carbon copy moves that you can see in other characters as well, minus like his power geyser and the go meter. But now you see this issue with all these DLC characters is they always have this meter. They always have that one gimmick that sets them so differently from other characters, especially ones that were in the base game. But with Sephiroth, he's just a raw sword fighter, you know, minus his one wing. But that's like an obvious inclusion, which is similar to like, you know, Arsene for Joker. It's just nice to see, like, finally there's a sword character in this game that I feel like I can rock with and also play, because I really wanted to play like characters like Marth and Roy and Chrom, and despite the fact that Roy and Chrom are good, it just feels kind of cheap using them, and honestly it's like kind of just a press the A button win type of ordeal. But with Sephiroth, this character is actually layered. Like, he's not an easy character at all. In fact, he's a little tougher to use compared to like, I think, the rest of the DLC characters. Maybe not as hard as Steve, but for one, you gotta know what you're doing. You can't just swing your moves out, especially with that ridiculous end lag on some of his moves, especially like up air. If you try to throw that out a bunch, you might just get heavily punished for it. Same with like up smash. You know, you have to be very calculated when you play. And he's also a pretty like neutral heavy character too. And I don't see a lot of that from like DLC characters, because most of the time, like I said before, you add these characters into the game and they just seem like a bunch of gimmicks. You know, they're normal characters, but then you give them that one thing that sets them apart from the rest. And it can be looked at as cheap or corny to add to that character. But with Sephiroth, despite the fact that he does have a gimmick, his neutral-wise is incredible. Like, this is kind of like this game's version of Cloud from Smash 4. Maybe not similarly good to Cloud Smash 4 since he was, like, busted in that game. But I get that same excitement from when I play Sephiroth. Like, I feel like I could have a Pocket Sephiroth, similarly to how everyone had like a Pocket Cloud.
So one thing that I want to definitely point out, starting from the top, is the counter. I've seen some controversy with the counter a lot. I personally think that the counter is actually probably like well balanced. Like, even like given the point that like his counter still like makes the animation attack even if you don't hit the counter, like it only hits off to one direction. So if you hit him from behind, like the counter is not going to be applied to you. Like that will be his vulnerable spot to avoid that counter. So I think it's like perfectly balanced there in my opinion. And when you actually do hit it, like the range obviously increases for you to be hit. If you don't, the range is not incredibly big, but it's still there for them to just like, okay, wait, I gotta like rethink my approach here, you know? Yeah, no, another thing that I also like is the fact that I was expecting Sephiroth to have like a similar meter like Cloud does in some sense, especially to like when he's like around like, you know, at death percentage. But they kind of like give it to you when you're at a disadvantage, which honestly, I think it works out for the better that way. Because like we've been seeing a lot of characters that have the meter. Like I think Sephiroth not having the meter, it's like a refresh of the ticket. It's like, okay, well, you know, this ain't another thing that we had to look down on our gauge towards too, though. Like, I mean, granted, like it does give us an advantage, you know, to some degree, but you know, when it does, like, you know, I don't think it's like totally broken because like once your opponent is killed, if you have the advantage, like your 1 week is gone. It's just like gone. And like, you know, if you know how to play your cards right, like I think it's a perfectly it's a well-balanced fight matchup depending on who it is. I'd say like the best way of how I could describe Sephiroth, rather than Joker, I would say he's more of Lucario with given the aura when he's also at death percentage, because he's also like Sephiroth to an extent. He's also pretty easy to kill. Since he kind of dies a little bit early. Not too early, but like in comparison with most of the characters, oh yeah, he kind of does, especially if he has the 1 wing.
Yeah, exactly. And you bring a fair point there. It's like, coming back to like his weight, like you had just said, he has his weaknesses and strengths. Like they're very black and white. You can tell them apart pretty easily. And with that, like especially watching the showcase, it was kind of funny because like typically from like the other showcases with all these characters, you really get to see like either two things: their most broken move or their basic one first. And that's like the selling point for the character. Like when you buy this character, and this is to consider that, let's say you didn't buy the fighter pass and you're not serious about this game and you're only buying a character that you care about. So let's say you care about Sephiroth, but you're worried he might be weak or he's not going to be nearly as good because they're going to try to balance him out for Smash, even though like in lore, this character is godlike in the actual game. Like he is insane. Probably one of the like strongest characters in that entire franchise. But they showed off his weaknesses first. Like when we were talking about like the weight and whatnot, they showed that firsthand. Like they did not sugarcoat it at all. They were like, all right, let's just be transparent here. Like this character is light and will die early. Now let's get into his moveset. And it's just like, oh, like I thought that was so unusual to open up with a weakness first. But then as you continue to watch, the hype just builds as everything's getting revealed. Like for an example, his range with up smash and up air. I remember looking at that and I was just screaming like in my hotel room, like, what am I looking at? This thing is like got insane range. It's almost like Min Min but on crack. It's just insane. Like this character throws out a move and covers like half a stage or maybe like 3/4 of it. And then from there, you know, you get into counter. Then you look at One Winged, his recovery, like, it's just, I just love the way this character is made. And another thing that you brought up, Edo, that I really appreciate you for mentioning is how well balanced this character is. Because I feel like, especially when he was first released, like within that first week or like half a week, I guess, a lot of people were like complaining that this character was like, oh, he's broken, his rage is insane, I'm dying at like early percents. And it's like, well, yeah, but the thing is if you play smart and play neutral, typically what you should be doing in a fighting game, you can kill Sephiroth. Like, I have played a variety of different Sephiroths at like varying ranges. Like I have a friend of mine that was ranked like, you know, top 5 in his region competitively, and I've also played people who play casually and are at my level, and then I've played it with people that are probably what I would consider to be worse than me, which is, you know, no offense, I'm just saying that as like a realistic standpoint, but there are ways to get killed and kill, like as Sephiroth. It's really a 50-50. You just have to play it well. And on top of that, like, he's got a good back air, okay. Forward air is good too, but you do kind of have to space that properly if you want to get that tipper and whatnot. You also just can't throw moves out, or else you're going to be facing the consequence of having to deal with a lot of landing lag and whatnot. If you abuse his movement and, you know, throw out quick moves, including like his nair, that will give you an upper hand in neutral as well. And then destroying recoveries that don't snap ledge with his down air, like, no pun intended, but his down aireth will be able to kill people pretty easily.
Get out. Get out. I know
I had to make that joke.
No.
I had to make it.
I'm hurt now. Why? Not to my girl
Come on,
Erin.
man. Admit it. We all saw it on Twitter. It was hilarious. Down
Alright,
Aaron.
look, it was hilarious, but you know what? I didn't think Square or, like, you know, the Nintendo team was that ballsy enough to actually bring that moveset to the game. Why?
Yeah, what's it called? Actually, it's like Hell's Gate or something.
Oh, yeah, I wonder why that's named that.
Honestly, if you think about it, if you know the game, like that name is like almost just as worth as like Down Aerith. You might as well just be transparent about it at that point.
Just Down Aerith.
Just get it out of the way, man.
You're so foul for that. Oh no.
I gotta get one out there.
If you must, I guess. The one thing that I will say that I don't like, I mean, this is just me that I had to get used to, because I mean, again, like, in comparison between the two of us here, Crunch has a bit of a better of the understanding of the game than I do, but, like, at least I have some decent knowledge of it. The one thing I'm just not a fan of, like, this end lag is worse than Bayonetta's. I'm sorry, but that end lag, I'm not a fan of end lag characters, but that end lag, like, I get why he has it, but oh my god, no. That is, like, my only request. I'd have to say it's, like, okay, I get it, because, like, if that happens, then that means he'd be top tier, but you know what? I don't give a fuck. Bring this bitch to top tier. Do it. Do it.
Yeah, and that's just something that, like, I think players have to get used to, because that was my issue when I first played him as well, was that I felt like he was really laggy on the ground, but then I found, like, to abuse his quick moves and also, like, doing full hop back airs and whatnot kind of held, like, I was controlling, like, this space on the stage that really helped me out a lot, like, as I was getting to learn the character. And I say this is not, like, I'm a master of the character at all, because, like, for one, I don't even consider myself to be that amazing at this game. I would consider myself to be good, but not, like, you know, like, above average. But I have played this game enough for me to understand, like, how to get around those type of, like, problems and whatnot, and to adjust to, like, Sephiroth. But, you know, after that, like, this one move, I can't believe I forgot to even bring this up, but his side B is, like, really cool. I think if you were to consider it, like, not the move itself, because the cons of it, I don't understand how this works, because it's like, you know, the move comes out fairly quick, but you are very susceptible to, like, getting punished for even throwing the move out. Like, it's negative on shield, and somehow it's negative on hit. Like, I understand that that move is really meant to, like, you know, read approach options, or, like, if you're at an appropriate distance, you can kind of throw that out and get lucky and surround them with, like, the orbs and whatnot. But at the same time, if you're going to make it a negative on shield, why is it also negative on hit? I feel like I should just be able to snap it and then move on from there. Or, you know, I probably mix that up vice versa. But Sephiroth gets punished pretty easily for that move. But the effects and the results of landing that move on your opponent is glorious. Like I love that move so much. It's probably one of my favorite moves of his and his like entire kit, because typically, like, you know, to put someone in that position of like always being threatened, like that's what Sephiroth does best. It almost feels like you're always at an advantage with that character if you use him correctly. Like, you're able to control the space, you're able to put fear into your opponent by like throwing that side B out onto him. You're also able to go off stage and like make your opponents fear for their life, knowing that that counter is just going to destroy them. And like, I just love the way he operates. Even recovery too, like he has multiple options. Like, I love his recovery so much because it's not restricted to just, you know, the 4 basic directions, like up, down, left, and right. Like, you're allowed to go in diagonal angles and direction it like however you want. If you want to go snap to ledge with the regular up B, but like maybe angle it in a way where you go down or up depending where you're coming from, you can do it. And then on top of that, if you hold it for Octo Slash, like that is a great recovery tool, because his range is so big that you can literally just push people away from like guarding ledge, and then you have time to get back. His toolkit is like really good, and for that personally, I'm not gonna tell people that he's top tier, because I also would like to see him like offline as well, and I think he would be crazy offline, but at where it stands right now, I think he's definitely somewhere in high tier. In terms of range, you know, if you want to say he's at high tier, maybe the middle of high tier or lower end of high tier, like that's fair, but mid and below is not acceptable. I do not think a character like this is mid tier at all, and when put into the right hands, he's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, because like because that Sephiroth has like these certain movesets to where he can act quickly, but then he also has part of his moveset that he can be very patient in his gameplay. You can easily trick your opponents. You'd be surprised of how you can trick your opponents into like many things that you believe that, like, if you're not playing into a linear playstyle, there are many mix-ups that you could actually do with Sephiroth. Like, you know, again, like what's quicker is like, you know, his forward air. But if you want to be all fancy and shit, like, you know, if you're, say that your opponent is expecting you to do it again, or like a fast paced move, like Sephiroth has that supernova kill. Yeah, no, and you know, sometimes people can get scared of that shit, and you know, sometimes there'll be people that just want to flex for the sake of flexing, but yeah, no, that doesn't exactly work out, because again, Sephiroth right now is the definition of flex.
Oh my god. Yeah.
But what I love about his moveset as well, I mean, this is just me. I saw this meme on Twitter though, but I thought that was just so hilarious. Like, you know, he has 2 attacks, which, you know, as Crunch mentioned, he has the side B to where he snaps, and he has the dark orb surrounding around his opponent, and the maximum of that is about like 5 to 6. And his Nair is pretty much just some type of rainbow neutral. It's pretty short range, but like honestly, it kind of looks cool, and sometimes like it's fun to abuse that shit when you're like, you know, in the gameplay, you know, SpongeBob going that. But that's just
oh yeah, that meme on Twitter where they're just doing that.
Yeah, because it's just like, Sephiroth Dittos actually be like though. But you know what? This can also be said for Joker and Sephiroth, because Joker also has that. But nah, Sephiroth needed more. He definitely needed more of that snapping because he's just that powerful. But anywho, with all things considered, like, I also have to agree, like, I definitely do not think that he's mid-tier. I will be in shock, like, if it comes to the conclusion that he actually is. But for what I'm seeing right now, and especially for like this type of character, like this is a definitely different in comparison with the rest of the DLCs. But like, you know, if we take Joker out of the equation, this is definitely some type of different high tier that we actually have as a character. Surprisingly, like I know this is a little bit irrelevant to bring up though, but I still have a hard time seeing where Steve stands in the tier list. I don't know if that's just me. I don't know if it's because that like Steve has like so much going on though. Sephiroth, like I can get like there's still like a lot to like experiment and such though, but like we got Sephiroth that we kind of don't even know where Steve stands in the tier list. I mean, that's just me though, especially to like how good he is though. I do see that like he's been used here and there still to this day, surprisingly. In comparison with the rest of the DLC characters, and you know, I'm pretty sure Sephiroth's gonna have that long longevity of still being used like Joker and like Steve. The rest of the characters I definitely do not see in any capacity. Maybe Terry at best, but that's it.
Yeah, I forgot that you mentioned about his supernova attack. I just want to say real quick, that move is also crazy broken. Like, I love using that move a lot, but yeah, besides that, Steve, yeah, it's like, I've watched a lot of like Steve gameplay because I think if you were to consider it, he's probably the most unique out of any DLC character that we've gotten. And I've watched like high level, top level play for like everybody. Like, I've watched gameplay of like, there's a friend of mine named DM who I guess he's like considered a top Pikachu player as well, also kind of using Steve, and I've seen some of his clips and they're ridiculous, and like they make the character look crazy. And on top of that, I've also watched like Salem and Aaron, like formerly known as Dyer for those that don't know from Smash 4. He plays Diddy Kong and Steve, I guess, but it's so strange because that character looks incredibly busted. Like, I think it's hard to judge right now because that character is so complex and plays completely different from any other character that I've ever seen that it's difficult to put him, like, not necessarily on a tier list, but like rather his viability. Like, is he going to ruin the meta offline? Like, is this character toxic, or is he just really good, or maybe not even good at all? I think he's really crazy. Like, I think Steve as a character is built essentially like a game-breaking character, similarly to like not exactly what Bayonetta was, because Bayonetta was like so crazy to the point where people thought it was broken to use her and people considered banning her from tournaments and whatnot. But he's got some like pretty game-breaking mechanics, you know, with the whole mining thing. Like, you're literally playing Minecraft on the stage, like upgrading your armor. And the other thing you have to consider too is like his armor, depending on what you have, whether it's like stone, wood, iron, and like diamond, they all do different things, and they all work differently in neutral and have their own little purpose. So it's like you also have to know that, and then you also have to know when to use like all your other moves, how to recover. Like, you have so many things that you have to understand about that character. I feel like not everyone has unlocked his true potential yet, but I have a feeling that is a character that many people are going to sleep on when we get back to regular events. And when we get to events and then people like start making upsets with this character, I think people will finally see like, yo, Steve kind of crazy. Now, for where he's at on like a tier list, like maybe like mid-high tier, somewhere around there, like, because that's typically the deal with most of these DLC characters, except for like characters like Banjo. I think Banjo is like overwhelmingly a mid-tier character, but like, you know, Steve, I don't know, he confuses me just as much as he confuses you too. I can't even give you an answer exact either, but like, all I do know is that he plays a lot differently from all the other characters in the game, and he takes a lot more time to understand, and there's a lot more knowledge to gain compared to like Sephiroth, because Sephiroth is in a way kind of a basic Swordfighter character with like, you know, unique strengths and weaknesses that you have to deal with. But Steve is just new all around. Like, this is just a completely different game when you play it with Steve. But yeah.
Damn, you also couldn't even tell right now. Shit, that's how you know it's a big thing. I'm gonna need this pandemic to end soon. Like, I just want to have these answers, you know, because like, ever since like we've been put into this situation, it's like, come on. I like, now that we have these like hype characters going around, like I kind of need to know. I'm dying to know. I need this to end so badly.
I do too, man. It's like, I really want to see, because like I saw this really funny tweet about a couple weeks ago, or maybe even a week ago, I want to say, where some guy was describing Min Min as like a toxic, game-destroying character, in the sense that like this character ruins the game. And I was like, wow, that's a shock, because like, you know, in that Japan region, you know, there are people who play Pac-Man and Sonic and like all those other characters, and over here we kind of consider those as like boring characters that ruin the game a little bit. But the fact that they said that about Min Min is kind of a shock to me, and I honestly believe it, because like I would not want to get like outranged by a character like that, especially with the amount of strength that character holds too. Like, you're able to switch through like different arm setups that have different you know, damage and knockback outputs, and like you have to deal with like all the combos and whatnot. On top of that, you can up smash and reflect projectiles. It's like kind of weird, but that shocked me that out of all the characters in the game, they considered Min Min to be like a game ruining character. And like when offline comes back, we mention this all the time, but like offline is the true form of Smash. It is at its peak offline, because, you know, as we all know, online kind of sucks, but offline, this is where you get the true information for the game. Because for one, most people play this game offline. That's how tournaments are held, and you're not having to deal with so much buffer that's already in the game, and then you have more online. But like, it is a completely different meta on like offline, because if you want to know why MKLeo doesn't use Joker much online, not many people even like to use Joker online, simply because people feel that he's a little weaker, because typically the meta online is like way mashier than normal and like very gimmicky, whereas offline it's like people can react to that type of playstyle a lot quicker. So you're just at that point using characters that are just genuinely like a lot better, because Sonic was, you know, he's a good character, but he was barely used offline, and we rarely saw him. But with these offline tournaments, you know, we see a lot of players like Sonics and You're Too Slow and like a couple other people using this character, and they're showcasing like what this character can do online. But the question is, can they do it offline? And that's what I want to know when offline tournaments come back, because unfortunately we've been almost a year deep into Ultimate Online, and it's almost like half of its entire meta from the release of the game to now, which is crazy to think. Like, we've only had like maybe a little over a year or two of offline events, and now we're almost coming to that point where it's going to be a whole year, and I just can't imagine this happening any longer. I don't know if it's going to be healthy for the game to stay online, and that's why I just really hope this pandemic ends soon and there's regulations that are made where we can play offline and whatnot, and then from there we finally get to see everybody's characters, whether it's new or old, showcasing like what they can do offline, how the game has changed since since pre-pandemic era, and like, yeah, I'm just excited.
Definitely. Yeah, no, and plus, like, unfortunately, this is something that I think, like, we've already kind of expressed, but, like, if not, but, if you're still hoping for Smash Ultimate Online to be fixed, don't expect it at this point. They're definitely not gonna do it. Like, it's been, like, a whole, like, year and a half since we've already, like, pleaded, like, heavily for them to fix online, and while they've done various fixes of it, they haven't done actual, like, strong connectivity, you know, fixes in any way, any capacity at all. And unfortunately, I don't think there's anything that they actually can do with it. So, yeah, it might be a wrap on that one, unfortunately.
Yeah, and speaking of fixes, man, this new patch is whack. Awful.
Okay.
Like, it's so bad.
This is, I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is the worst patch we've ever had, ever in this game. Oh my god.
I was expecting, like, oh my god, we got Sephiroth, which, okay, by the way, I'm going to mention this before we get into this, but that Sephiroth challenge that was revealed at the end of the Direct is by far the greatest marketing ploy for a DLC character I have ever seen. Being able to beat a character in like a boss mode type of thing and unlocking him early is crazy. And I want to say, whoever came up with that at Nintendo, you are a genius and you need to be paid well for that. Even
you need
given
a raise right the
probably.
fuck now.
Yeah, like doing that challenge for the time that it was available was incredible, and just revealing that you can unlock a character early like that without like paying anymore. Like, I feel like I earned that DLC character, minus the fact that you do have to pay him to like even do the challenge. But oh my god, best thing I've ever seen from a character. This is why I still think to this day this is the best character to get added into the game. So
I agree.
So cool what he brought to the table.
You know, like, what's so funny about that presentation, because, like, Sakurai had the original idea as, like, oh, yeah, you can only challenge him once, and if you don't beat him, you don't get the character. It's like, oh, my God. You know what? A little bit, I kind of wish he did that.
Yeah, I can't believe he considered that, because that's, like, dude, you know how many people he'd piss off if, like, I wouldn't have gotten him that day. I actually did not do it on my first attempt. I did it on, like, my third or fourth.
I did it on my second attempt.
Yeah. I just kept using I used Falcon I used Cloud the first two, and then I was like, all right, I'm gonna just go Falcon, and then I just like busted his ass open. And I was just like, well, there we go, got the character now. Should have just done that from the beginning, but
yeah, no, I also used Cloud the first time, but like after that, I'm like, okay, let me use Joker because I actually have always wanted to see the matchup between Sephiroth and Joker because that Sephiroth bot was not playing around. I got my ass beat pretty bad on the first try. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, level 10 CPU type beat.
Oh my god. Yeah, because I was like, I'm not gonna do this shit in like, you know, in normal and easy mode. No, I'm gonna need the very hard mode challenge. Like that is an actual challenge. Like, you know.
Yeah.
You know, the challenge that Smash was able to do, but not Kingdom Hearts 3. But anywho.
Yeah, I know, facts. And on top of that, like, yeah. I guess we'll mention this last thing too before we get into the patch, because I just forgot to talk about these things too, is like the classic mode I actually did like right after I unlocked the character. I think it was the first thing I did before I even like labbed the character out and whatnot. And I gotta say, like, I really hope they do kind of like add a boss mode for all characters. Not saying like specific towards them, but like make what you did for Sephiroth the challenge you can do for every character. Because dude, that boss rush was so much fun. And then like the ending thing was themed towards like Final Fantasy VII with like that stage. We literally fought Master and Crazy Hand on a Final Fantasy stage. I was like, wow, that's so sick. And like fighting all of these bosses that you typically don't fight until the very end, like in the middle of like your run on classic mode, is so cool.
One Winged Angel moment on that one.
Yeah, it's like boss versus boss fight.
I am the boss fight, damn it.
Yeah, spoiler alert, Sephiroth's the actual boss, not the bosses themselves.
Yeah, nah, but I mean, hey, that means you're cool.
Yeah.
I do agree with you. Like, I would like to see some type of like boss rush challenge for like the rest of the characters. I would say like the best way of how like that idea could be incorporated would be what was that thing that they always do this for every Smash game, to where like you can fight off every single like Smash characters, but like they're all grouped in by the year releases. All-Star Smashes, that's what it's called? I think that's what it's called. I think that's like the type of idea I would like to see for the boss rushes. I don't know, because like honestly, I love the single player content for what you can do with Smash, but because of these ideas, I feel like they could bring more. I would love to see more. Like, honest, I don't think they're gonna do it though, but it would be so nice if they did.
Yeah, like, I agree, because I remember like doing all-star challenges in like both Brawl and 4, and it was so much fun, like being able to fight all those characters getting grouped up by year. And like I remember at the base game, or at least like in a point in time, like, you know, when they released like home run contests in this game as well, and he was saying like that's the last mode that they were gonna add, and I'm like, wait, so no break the targets and no all-stars? Like, those are my, you know what's crazy, those were my two favorite modes. And like, you know, home run contest is third, like it's an honorable mention for me, but like people have been begging to bring back you know, break the targets. It was in Brawl and Melee, and it was like probably the most fun I had ever had playing like a mode in Smash. Like, if I wasn't fighting people, I was doing break the targets and like trying to beat my own times and whatnot. And then with all-star mode, I just loved fighting all the characters again, like grouped up in one like, you know, one like release year type of thing, and like kind of going through the years of Smash and like how representation has changed. And I wish they did that for I wish they did that for this. Maybe, you know, we'll get it when all characters are released. Like, let's say this is actually going to be the last character pack and we're not getting a third. Maybe, like, as a goodbye gift, we get, like, an all-star mode, and then from there it's over. Like, I think that would be really fun. Maybe a target. Break the targets, please. I would like that, too. But
do not, and I swear to God, Nintendo, I want you to listen to me if you're listening to this podcast for whatever reason. Do not give us the Smash 4 break the targets. That is not what I want. I want Melee break the targets. That was fire. Smash 4 sucked. Sorry.
Yeah, facts. I know that it did suck. But I guess with that being said, now we'll actually transition into the patch.
Yes.
So, like, my expectations going into this, I was thinking, this is patch 10.0. And if I remember correctly, this is the farthest we've ever gotten into a Smash game in terms of, like, upgrades and changes. And a point that Gimmer brought up like a while ago, and this is when the second fighter pass got revealed, or I think it was the second fighter pass was revealed, or the first, I can't remember, but he was saying something like, something to keep in mind is like, yeah, we are getting these new characters, but with that being said, this gives us an opportunity for more patches and more chances to fix the game. But as these patches have come out, like minus some of the character changes that were needed, I was really expecting like core mechanic changes, like changes to like the buffer system, pairing being more useful than what it is right now, and like fixing online, and maybe fixing going past people or like stuff like that. But nothing was done, and I was expecting 10.0 to do something, maybe not all of that, but something at least. And that wasn't the case. 10.1 rolls out when Sephiroth is like officially released, when you don't have to do the challenge to unlock them, and like it sucks. It's literally just a bunch of multi-hit fixes, and Fox is like back to his Smash 4 roots, which is like, oh fuck, now I gotta deal with Fox again. But like that's all you could do. It just sucks because like I was really expecting a lot more out of this patch than just Sephiroth, and like the fact that you brought Sephiroth to 10.0 gave me hope, thinking like, damn, maybe we're getting like some good changes. And if we don't get it, since we didn't get it this time, like I really hope these next couple patches, if not the next patch that we get, they start to look at the core mechanics of their game and see like, okay, now that we've added these characters that are like complex and stuff, like what are things about the game at its core that we can fix? But I don't even trust myself to believe in them to do that.
I honestly believe that it was not gonna happen with most of the characters. Again, like at most, like the one character that I definitely expected it was Joker. I don't exactly remember what happened for the patch for that one, but a character like Sephiroth, because I feel like he brings a lot of new things to the table. You would expect that there would be some type of differences, but no, nothing, not a single thing. As usual, there's only a character adjustments here and there, which I guess I'm gonna just get right into this point. The only thing I kind of care about ish, because my friend, he is the best Zelda player as of right now. Then I know he's screaming of joy. Zelda got a little bit of a buff. That's the only thing I paid attention to. The rest of the character buffs, there were like less than 10 characters that got buffed or nerfed. That's it. That's literally it.
Yeah, the patch was just so underwhelming, and like, I mean, I get it. I'm glad that Sephiroth's in the game, and they probably took a lot of work because, I assume they're constantly working on bringing these characters into the game and like making them as good as they can be for release and whatnot. But at the same time, I wish there was like a different like team that would work on fixing stuff like that, because the game as of right now is like, it's fun, but it's very annoying to play sometimes, and I just wish there was a way to like get them to understand that their game is not perfect right now, and it's not the greatest Smash in terms of like mechanics wise. Because honestly, if you had just brought back like Smash 4 mechanics, but like maybe changed it up a bit, or like, I don't know, just fixed
Ultimate
the
IFIT.
game. Yeah, like I would have been happy with that, and that's just not the case. Like, I'm not saying I need a Smash 4 copy. I'm just saying like Smash 4 was promising, but there could have been fixes that they made which would have in return made the game a lot more enjoyable. But no, we have this game, which it's fine, but like it just has some weird quirks and like just random things that a lot of people don't like, including myself. And I was kind of hoping that would get fixed, but apparently not. And I'm running thin of hope at this point, because it's like, true, we're getting all these characters, which means more patches, but like I feel like that's giving them an excuse to make small, minuscule changes to quote unquote keep their promise of making changes to the game, but they aren't changes that we want. They're doing it in a cheap way.
Yeah, and it's mostly catered towards the fighters, which, I mean, to be fair, at the beginning, like, most of the characters needed some type of nerf or buff. So, that's out of the way, because I feel like for most of the characters, I feel like everyone's at like a good spot right now to a degree. Maybe there will be some adjustments that will have to be made in the future and stuff like that though, but like this patch kind of showed it for me. Like the fact that there were not even that many characters that got like adjustments to it, it's like, okay, like if you don't see characters that need this type of like buff or nerf or like, you know, maybe a quick adjustment to like maybe like, you know, rethink the gameplay, then what are we doing here with the core mechanics of this though? Because the one thing I don't like about Ultimate is the fact that like this is, for me at least, it's a little bit mashy, which I mean, it doesn't make it any better, the fact that like, you know, we do this a lot online too though, but like most of the time, like I do have tactics that I do want to perform and such though, but it's just like, I just cannot. They have the right idea. They have the right idea is the fact that like the pace is fine. I love the pace. It's much better than 4. And that's how I expect it to be, because I did not play well in 4, admittedly, wholeheartedly. But this game, I feel like I can do it, and I've improved a lot more. It's just that there are certain executions of the gameplay that is just like, okay, we're bringing these characters in. We're doing a lot of things with this game that's like never before seen in the previous Smashes. It's like you think they do it. And I'm, you know, I'm kind of on the same boat here. Like, I was thinking that they're probably going to bring another bootleg character into it. Because, like, now we got a hype character, Sephiroth. I don't know if that same momentum is going to keep up for the remaining 3 characters. So, I'm thinking, like, since we have this type of energy, great character, one of the greatest reveals, but the worst patch. We might get that opposite effect for, like, in the future characters. But even then, like, that's even for a slim chance on that. I don't know why, I don't know how, but maybe, hopefully, like, when this pandemic is over, like, it could be truly shown that, like, Nintendo should have their eyes and ears all over it, though, but like I said, we can't even tell what Nintendo's aim is at this point.
Yeah, and I am a little hopeful because I feel like 2021, like, I have a gut feeling that this might actually be a good year, just regarding, like, everything. Like, I feel like this pandemic will end next year. I feel like life will get easier for some next year, and I also just feel like in general too, this game could potentially be fixed next year as well. And you know, that's what I'm hoping for, because maybe I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they are working so hard on these characters, which I appreciate already. Like, I already appreciate all the work that they do, whether I like it or not. The fact that they're putting their time into this game still is incredible, and I appreciate that immensely. Like, I couldn't be more thankful. But, you know, I think they have to understand that there are going to be people that will be upset when you don't make necessary changes to the game. Because, like, really the last time we ever got, like, a legitimate change was, like, in Smash 4 when they kind of adjusted, like, something about, like, shields and whatnot. And apparently that, like, changed the game pretty drastically. And I'm kind of hoping they do something similar to that, but not necessarily make a change where it ruins the game, but rather where it makes it better and a lot more bearable. Because there is a lot of complaining about, like, the game at its core, and I'm hoping that, like, Sakurai and his devs understand that and then find a way to fix that. But if not, I guess this is just the game that we're gonna have to play. But yeah, I just hope maybe we will get lucky and there will be a change.
Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like, because again, like, it has that potential. They just need to tap into it. That's all they really need to do at this point. Because like I said, I don't really see many characters that actually need adjustments at this point now. I think that's all I really have to say for about, like, the patch and even, like, Sephiroth in general overall. How about you?
Yeah, same here. I'm pretty much done on my end. I think honestly, like, I think we pretty much covered a lot of, like, everything. Honestly, like, it's not an underwhelming patch at all, but, like, most of the hype was centered around Sephiroth, which we had covered about, like, everything about him and, like, what came with him and what not, and, like, yeah. Oh, one more thing I want to mention, because I think this is, like, the last thing we should really mention, and then probably wrap it up, just because, like, that's really all we have to talk about, unfortunately. But Geno getting deconfirmed again.
Oh, the Mii Fighters! I totally forgot about that. That's right.
You know what's kind of funny about that is, like, I saw it coming. Like, I hate to say this for Geno lovers, but, like, that is a character I could care less about getting into the game, but I'm not against it. Like, for an example, a character that I am against getting in this game is Jonesy from Fortnite. You can give this game Fortnite representation or whatever, but, like, do not add a character for it. But Geno, the thing about Geno is, like, he comes from a game that happened one time and then was never distributed again. Like, that Mario RPG game was a one-time thing, and even in his own game, he's kind of just like, he's not even like this big main character. Like, he's not even like a big part of the story. He's just kind of in the game. But there's this like weird cult fan base that like wants him in the game so badly and thinks he represents like his representation from his game is like so immense, when like I've never even heard of this character in my entire life. And like, I hate to say this, but like, the Mii costume fits, bro. I'm just gonna say that much. I think that will piss off a lot of Geno fans when I say that, but like, I think putting him as a Mii costume, you are essentially already creating the character that he was meant to be. And like, sure, I would have liked to have seen him as like an ultimate Mii Fighter Deluxe, or I think it's just called Mii Deluxe, like similarly like how Cuphead and Sans were treated. Like, they literally look like characters, but they're Mii costumes. Like, I think they should have at least done that for Geno, but like at the same time, like, keep that character a Mii Gunner, bro. That's all he's ever gonna be.
Oh my god. Oh my god, that was just... You really said all that, wow.
I mean, it's the truth. I can't lie. I don't lie on this podcast. Y'all know me. I keep it real.
Yes, the truth is always needed for this podcast, yes. I have to agree with that. Like, I mean, like, Geno was, like, even if he were to be a fighter, like, he doesn't create that much of a buzz, at least for me personally. Like, I mean, I guess it created that much of a buzz for, like, especially that one Twitter video I saw that, like, some guy was just like, oh, yeah, no, this is kind of cute Mii costumes, and then he just saw Geno as a Mii fighter and was just screaming, was like, no! And I'm like, oh, God, I can hear that right now. But, oh yeah, I also want to say I am a little bit salty we did not get the Polygon figures as Mii costumes. That would have been nice, but I mean, it kind of makes sense. Yeah, but I was so sad. I'm like, that was the perfect opportunity. They could have made that work. I don't care what anybody says.
Dude, yeah, I was actually really hoping for like a Polygon Final Fantasy VII costume. I kind of didn't really expect it, but like, that would have been like the going above change. And that would have been really cool if they added that, but honestly, I'm okay with it. I can live with it.
Yeah, it's still fine. Like, I think it's okay. I did not expect, like, okay, Tifa and Barret, I definitely expected. For a sword fighter, I was actually expecting Zack, not Aerith. That kind of shocked me, not gonna lie.
Oh, that Aerith got added as a Mii costume?
As a sword fighter.
Yeah. You know, it doesn't really shock me because... for my case that I'm trying to build, it's like in Cloud's reveal trailer they used Zelda as the Aerith representation, and then they did the same exact thing in this game. And when you're representing this game now, it's like, that's just to be expected at this point. Like Barret and Tifa, I figured were gonna get added, and I was also thinking like, you know, how are you going to include those characters and not Aerith? Because that's, like, the main part of the group right there is Barret, Tifa, and Aerith, and then you have Cloud and Sephiroth as their own characters. I would have actually been shocked if they didn't add Aerith, but that would have been more like a back thought because, you know, I'm watching it for Sephiroth, not the Mii costumes. But
right.
Like, Barret and Tifa were just so obvious. I was like, okay, now you're going to follow it up with Aerith. And then they did it, and I was like, okay, there. Like, I was expecting them to do that, but it's cool that they gave her the staff. Because that's a big part of her character, since she's mostly like a magic user, or like she uses spells and whatnot in the games. But yeah, for me it wasn't too shocking. I thought that was pretty suitable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still okay with it nonetheless, because I mean, like, that is part of like the main 4 characters that you think of, or 3 characters that you think of for Final Fantasy: Tifa, Barret, and Aerith in terms of Cloud's group, rather than like, you know, Red 13, Sid, and you get the rest of the characters.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, pretty much of what the Mii fighters, it was pretty much expected. And Geno, oh god, that was just funny. Like, I kind of expected that though, but I did it at the same time when I saw it. I'm like, oh, yikes.
I literally sat there in my chair and I was like, all right, Geno. And then they showed the RPG logo and I was like, yep, there he is. He's back where he belongs.
You hate to see it. You really hate to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I do kind of hate to see it a little bit because it's like, I didn't really want him as a character, but I really wouldn't have cared if he actually did get added, because, like, you know, whatever, it's Gino, but...
I agree.
Like, it just... Square Enix is such a complicated company to work with when it comes to, like, including stuff in Smash, and I kind of figured as well that it would, like, kind of end up in that scenario where, like, you know, that's enough rep from that point. I don't know. It's just... I expected it, and I was just like, alright, well, there it is. Now we just gotta move on.
Yeah, at this point, it is what it is. But again, Gino fans, I'm a little sorry. I don't know if Crunch is sorry, but I mean, I'm gonna leave y'all up to him and y'all with that one. That's between y'all.
I am, but, like, you know, that character kind of had it coming. I hate to say it. Like, I'm shocked that people do not get that character's just kind of meant to be a gunner, unfortunately. Like, I say that with regret. Like, I do kind of wish that character was given a little more love, because I guess there are fans out there that want to, but, like, at the same time, for me, like, I just really don't care, like, that much, personally. Like, I have no attachment to Gino, so, you know.
Right,
gunner,
same.
whatever.
That's all I really have to say on that note as well. However... I do have something interesting that I want to talk about before we actually end this podcast. And unfortunately, I spent all morning, and even as we are recording this podcast right now, I spent my entire time looking for this article because I did see it like a few days ago, and now I can't find it. But I do remember what it says, though. There was an interview with Sakurai that it pretty much was like after the direct, I believe. And some of the details of what I found out about Sephiroth being included in Smash was very interesting. It looks like, I could be wrong when I say this though, but the way of how they were talking about Sephiroth and the way of like, of how, you know, Sakurai like had some details of remake before like the game was actually released. It sounds like Sephiroth was in the conversation of actually being included in Smash for a very long time, which to an extent I'm not surprised, especially like if there was plans to have much more of better representation for Final Fantasy VII. I'm just surprised of how like he made it into Smash Pack 2 instead of 1 if he's been talked about for this long and how long it's been settled for.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but they mentioned a little bit more about that because, like, you know, like he did say, like, I don't know, this part I don't remember correctly, but I heard that there were some remake songs that were considered to be put into it, which it would have been nice in my opinion, but like I said, for the songs that we got, that like I'm cool with it. It's whatever, you know? Like there's no remake sounds though, but we got Advent Children. We got Advent One Winged Angel. I'm good with that. But
yeah.
But the way of how, like, you know, things were going around with Sephiroth as a character as a whole, it's like, man, I wonder what it would have been like if he was actually introducing character pack 1. Alongside with Joker. Crazy.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping we would get some, like, a little bit of remake representation, but at the same time, I was like, I'm okay with Advent Children, especially because, like, the trailer was essentially, like, built around that. Like, we literally got a recreation of, like, the Advent Children fight in the trailer. But I was kind of hoping we would get some, like, remake songs, but it is what it is. I'm okay with what we got.
Yeah, I'm just, like I said, I'm just, like, really, like, curious as how this process goes, because, like, if he's been talked about, like, even by the beginning, like, if around my estimation, beginning of character pack 1 or 2, you know? Like, because they said, like, by the time that Joker was revealed, Sakurai or Nintendo, they've made a statement saying, like, okay, we finally decided who the rest of the characters are going to be in character pack 1. So I thought after the discussion, I thought that's where, like, you know, that's where the immediate characters that they will follow to develop, though. But now that I know that Sephiroth was in discussion for a while, it's like, oh my god, was he meant to be this character pack 1? I don't know. I don't know how this process exactly went. That's why it's just like, there are so many things that I'm learning new about this. It's like, Again, take this information probably with a grain of salt, especially the fact that I can't find this article. But if I do, I will be sure to link it into the description, of course. But it was an interesting read. I'll put it that much.
I agree.
But yeah, that's all I really have to say on my end regarding with all of the Sephiroth hype.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much all of it though. But Well, actually, one more thing I want to mention. I mean, it's rather considerably small, but I know we talked about Down Aerith, but all I'm gonna say is that is like one of the best spikes ever in this game, because it goes so far below, even below the stage. If any character that tries to recover that way, they're dead. They're gone. It's so funny.
Yeah, I will say I'm kind of tired of like those suicide down airs, as like the community kind of calls it, where you just kind of like, it's kind of like Banjo's down air, Sheik's down air, ZSS's, but the thing that makes his cool, and I think they gave it justice, is like you can do it on stage, it also just go through the stage because of his range, and like his sword is so big, but also doing it off stage, if you ever get the chance and you're at like the stock advantage, like going for that is so cool. So I do kind of agree that I actually really like his down air too. I thought I was gonna hate it, but I love it.
I actually love it a lot. It's kind of, I don't know. I think like just that mechanic alone, it's like, why else? Like, he brings good and new things to the table. It's a refresh. I love it personally.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, no. That's all now, truly, I'll have to say about it. No, there's nothing else extra that I'd like to add. How about you?
Nope, I'm done.
Alrighty. And that's all going to be for the podcast episode. If you're listening to the show on Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave out a 5-star rating if you enjoyed the podcast. Hit up the Storm Connect Twitter at StormConnectEN or other platforms this podcast is on for feedback on the show. This is Unknown Ninja.
And this is Crunch.
Thank you for your time for listening to this podcast episode. Stay safe, stay healthy, and for heaven's fucking sake, please stay smart. We will see you guys on the next podcast episode.
Take care, everyone.